Here we are on channel 55, Akaku and KAKU. Today's show is going to be a little bit of a funny show because I am interviewing the guy that has interviewed more people than I dare to count. A lot of them. And we'll finally get to interview him. Plus, well, a lot of other crazy stuff that we'll get into. And, sorry, today, no more graphics, but you know how it goes. The good thing is we can start the show the same way we always do. Roll intro.
Live from beautiful downtown Kahului, on the #1 island destination on planet Earth, the Valley Isle, Maui. From the Akaku studio at Halfway to Hell Plaza, it's live. And now, a man that's known far, but not wide. It's Shaggy!
Welcome to the show. It is live at 88.5 FM and Channel 55, Akaku. Today's guest is a guy that has interviewed a ton, and I do mean probably a metric ton of people, and he did that for a long time. Joining me in the studio, our very own entertainment guy, Tom Blackburn Rodriguez.
Here's Shaggy.
Hey, you know, don't put it past me. I've been trying to add an Ed McMahon to this show since we started.
When I listened to that intro, I thought, this is Johnny Carson's bald white son.
I appreciate the compliment.
Sometimes, Johnny used to do that show 5 days a week for 90 minutes, and he cut it back to an hour, and then 4 days a week. Now we know what he was doing that other night.
Mom, I'm so sorry.
Congratulations, and welcome to Maui.
Oh, God. Well, I got to say, this is kind of funny because a long time ago, me and you have already crossed radio paths.
Right.
And it's been a while.
That's right. That's right. We've actually known each other long enough to be fired from the same radio station. I mean, it's that kind of a close relationship,
Actually, we were fired from both of the things.
Oh, that's right. Actually, what happens is they hire you, and then they fire me, and then they fire you, and then they hire me, and then they fire me and hire you. It's like you're like one step behind me. I look around and I say, okay, I got the job. Where's Shaggy?
That way you know how long you get to keep it.
But you're right about interviewing. I have interviewed a lot of people, and I really, until you mentioned it, I really hadn't thought through that. But because, we've been, in the stations, different stations together and stuff, overall, for about 3 years or so, I was interviewing people a lot, almost, one a day, because we do the 5 days on the show. And we built up quite a roster of interviewees.
And, I'm going to ask the obvious question that nobody has ever asked me, and you are like a guy that has done impeccable interviews. I mean, seriously, I admire your interview skills. But
what was your name again? I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
Oh, yeah. Who do I make the check out to? No, the question is, and this is a very serious question. After a while, don't you just get tired of talking?
What?
I'm being honest.
Well, it's no, you don't really, because people are interesting. What you might have to do sometimes, you might have to reach inside of them. A fun thing about doing an interview, and for those of you who haven't interviewed anyone, just turn to the person next to you and start interviewing them.
Oh, please.
And it's a lot of times it's real simple, because everyone comes and they're a little bit nervous, and maybe they have an event they want to do, or something like that, So you gotta set them at ease, or maybe throw them off a little bit, For example, you might be talking to somebody, and you might say, "Shaggy, why are you wearing that ring? You haven't been married for 10 years. What's that all about? Where'd you get that ring?"
It's like, was there a prize in the gumball machine?
Exactly. So then I would say, well, you're married, right?
Yeah.
You any children?
One.
That you know of.
I thought this was my show. Okay.
So you're married, you got one child. How long have you lived here on Maui?
10 years.
10 years. And where were you thrown out of before you came here?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. Oh, North Carolina. Now you're talking barbecue, buddy. You're talking North Carolina. I know North Carolina. I spent a lot of time in North Carolina. And guess where I spent my time with? The Lumbee Indian tribe.
Oh, my God.
Uh-huh.
Can I tell you an honest-to-God true story?
You sure can.
Okay. So I was driving through...
I love this radio stuff.
This is the greatest thing.
So
they
North
give me
Carolina.
an hour to waste.
Okay. So what? Tell me a North Carolina story.
Oh, you're going to love this story. And this is, by the way, completely and factually true. I was in a cop car in the back of a cop car in Lumberton, North Carolina.
I know Lumberton. I know the police chief. And I know Mr. Fuller's Barbecue in Lumberton, North Carolina.
Oh, God, amazing barbecue, by the way. Okay, but I was in the back of a cop car in Lumberton because a cop had picked me up on the side of the highway. I had got a flat, and my spare didn't fit my car. It was the middle of the night. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. So puts me in the car, and I'm in the back. You cannot get out of the back of a cop car.
No. They make it that way.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a funny story because it didn't used to be that way. But then what happened is a lot of the police departments began to buy their cars from General Motors.
Mm-hmm.
And General Motors, as you know, is having problems with the recalls. When they did the police cars, they forgot to put in the door handles in the back.
Oh.
And the cops said, you know what? We like this. We're not going to send the car back. GM said, hey, you know what? We were going to ready to recall the car, but now the cops all like it. We're going to make all of our cars so you can't get out of them.
And now they make it so that you don't want to.
And they did it. And they not only did it, if you don't want the car, you can send it back.
Oh, my God.
So if you think that you were trapped in a police car by accident, no, this was American design, pal.
Oh, God.
American made, American built.
See, and that's something I want to get into.
How did you get out of the car?
Well, that's the funny part of the story, because on our way to the police station to call the tow company to come out to the highway, it was on 74. You know how you take 74 out to Wilmington.
That's right.
Okay, so I was on
Going
this
down
highway.
to south of the border.
Oh.
North Carolina, South Carolina.
Yes.
The cheesiest place you ever want to go, called south of the border.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to go back to your story, though.
Yeah, I know. I forgot whose show this was, by the way.
You're in the police car. You're trapped. You're cursing General Motors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What happens?
The cop gets a call, an emergency call. There's a shootout. We're already on the road where the shootout's happening. He pulls over at the shootout and bails out of the car. Meanwhile, there's a guy popping shots at the car that I cannot get out of.
And you're on the floor.
Are you kidding me? I had conversations with every religious being out there. I was like, oh, God, Allah, Buddha, yo, superior big guy, help.
You know, of course, that in Lumberton, North Carolina, there are only 2 people who are going to be up at 3 in the morning. One guy's got a flat tire, and the other guy is just shooting cops.
Yes.
It happens every week. What night was Saturday, Friday, Thursday?
It was a Saturday night.
Saturday night in Lumberton, everyone shoots at the cops.
Yeah. And people wonder why over here I seem so jittery.
Yeah, you shouldn't be nervous, because one thing is they don't give the Lumberton police bullets. It's just one thing to do, you know. It's kind of like they had the show. What is the show with Andy?
Mayberry.
Mayberry. Well, Andy came in and he did all the training for the Lumberton Police Department. Okay, so don't worry about it. They don't give them bullets, and the guns are edible.
Oh my God.
Now, did you actually go to Mr. Fuller's Barbecue in Lumberton?
Yes, I did. I was driving through. Well, see, I drove through there all the time. My parents lived in. Why are we interviewing me?
I'm just curious about you.
Okay. Well, why not? You know, we've got an hour to fill.
Exactly.
Okay, but my parents lived in Gastonia, and I lived in Wilmington, so I'd always drive through Lumberton. So every so often, you'd stop by and grab some good old barbecue.
Oh, God, it was so good. Mr. Fuller's passed on, God bless him. But the restaurant's gotten even bigger with his family. I used to stop there, and he would pack me a big basket of stuff to take back to Washington, D.C. when I worked in D.C. for the Democratic National Committee. A lot of Southern boys up there. So I'd bring in this barbecue and white bread and sweet tea, and I'd just lay it out in the conference room. It was like they were in hog heaven.
You know, you could have single-handedly shut down Washington over the right pulled pork. I am sincere. Do you know how many congressmen got fat, not off of just pork, but pork?
I believe it. I believe it. When they say pork in D.C., it's not what you and I talk about.
It is some short ribs, it's some pulled pork. You know, and this brings up an interesting question, because, you know, you've interviewed so many people over the years. Is it wrong to say that your favorite people to interview are chefs because they bring samples?
It was real easy. If you wanted to be on my show, it was real, you know, we had a whole process. We had a talent staff. We screened people. We interviewed them. We made certain they fit with the different themes of the show and everything. Unless you brought something to eat. Then you were on the show. Just show up with food. We had a sponsor, Brother Willie's Sticky Ribs. God bless him. He was over in the Pete and Lonnie Shopping Center now, across the street from where I live. The ribs are moving closer to me.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
And So I told him, I said, Will, you want to be on the show? You got to bring us something to eat. 7 o'clock in the morning, one morning, he walks in with a complete rib dinner at 7 in the morning. I'm talking about barbecue ribs. I'm talking about coleslaw. I'm talking about twice-baked potato salad. Okay, I'm talking about specially baked brownies. And, he could be on the show anytime he wanted to. But it was 7 o'clock in the morning.
I know, right? But can I be honest? There is no wrong time for barbecue.
You're absolutely right. And actually, I have Brother Willie's beef ribs in my refrigerator right now for dinner. Well, I'll tell you, an interview is funny on radio. Radio is, by the way, for those of you who are listening and not watching on Channel 55, you know that you can't actually see what's happening on the radio. Okay?
No.
So don't stare at your radio like waiting for something to happen. It's not going to happen. You're going to go to Channel 55 if you want to see this. But I used to love to do radio interviews with people who really didn't belong on the radio being interviewed. For example, one time I interviewed a dance instructor, okay, and what she did is she taught me how to do the foxtrot on the radio.
Oh.
So
I'm just let me be a little you learned dancing on the radio.
I learned how to dance the foxtrot on the radio interviewing her as she was instructing me on how to dance. So I had to create this visual of being on a ballroom floor and dancing. The reality is this woman was a dancer. She was not a talker. Okay, so it was a hard interview to do until I got her up dancing. And that was one of my favorite interviews. Another one I liked a lot was when I was hypnotized on the air. My partner, or I shouldn't say partner because she's married now and has a baby, Kelly Polly Cruz.
Yeah.
And people who are listening to this know about Kelly, how great she is, and what a tremendous partner she is. And on the radio show, we would do things that sometimes made her uncomfortable. For example, there was the time, we did the dance instructor. She thought that was funny. And there was a time we brought in the lady who sold bras, okay? And her thing was that she would measure you, and you would get the perfect bra. Now, Shaggy, how often have you walked out of the house saying, God darn it, this thing doesn't feel right. It pulls up. I've got back fat. I mean,
back rolls.
What's going on? Well, so she came on the show and fitted me for a bra. So we're interviewing her. She's doing this, right? So, and by the way, I'm a 44C. If anyone's looking for birthday or Christmas
just
present.
in time for Christmas.
Just in time for Christmas. So that was a great interview because I had to go through the whole process of how you get fitted for a bra and what the measurements are and what have you. And I don't know if I can say this on the air or not, but I probably shouldn't be. Well, anyway, 2 days later, I started menstruating. But
hey, you know what?
but all I can say is those are the kind of interviews I would do. I would look for the really deep, significant issues of the day. Okay, there was a woman we had on, for example. We brought her twice because I love this one. She was a pole dancer.
Ooh, I like this one.
Now, the challenge there is how do you interview someone who's hanging upside down in lingerie? It's tough, okay? You join them. You got the bra, you've been fitted. She's hanging upside down.
Might as well.
Really, so she's looking at your feet, and you got pretty good feet, so you're looking at her. Well, never mind. But at any rate.
You're looking at something at that point.
So I like to do those kinds of interviews where, or maybe we're looking at something that's a little off kilter, a little bit different. But I really enjoyed it. And as a matter of fact, the hypnosis thing was the most fun, and I'm really waiting for someone to come and snap their fingers and kind of bring me back.
Oh, God, it's been that long.
It's been that long.
Do you even know what they did to you?
I do. I actually got hypnotized on the air, but it was a light hypnotism. They brought me down and got my arm to raise up and, and make points with my fingers and stuff. But I was actually hypnotized, but I wasn't in deep hypnosis because Kelly kept saying things like, make him take off his pants. Make him take off his pants and dance.
Oh, my God. This was your co-host.
And you know what they say about hypnosis? Mm-hmm. And people who have been hypnotized know this. They say, you cannot do anything under hypnosis that you wouldn't do normally.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah, so, so there was no danger there, except Kelly kept saying, have him take off his pants and dance. He does that. Take off his pants and dance.
How does she know this, by the way?
Well, Kelly and I have known each other for many, many years. I think she reminded me the other day I've known her for 6 or 7 years.
Wow.
And I apologize. I haven't been paying much attention to her. So I know I'm going to pay attention to her. She's a wonderful lady, great mother, successful businesswoman. And as a matter of fact, Abby, who is the newest addition to the family, a little more than a year old. Hi, Abby, if you're listening, it's Uncle Tom.
Oh, see? And if you're not listening, you're watching the screen, you can just make funny faces into the camera, you know?
That's right. And if you're playing with Etch-a-Sketch, I don't love you anymore.
Oh, God, that's mean.
So you've done a lot of interviews.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to bring this up because, you know, as far as interviews is going, and as far as, like, the time that I've put in that I've known you, shows like this show that I'm doing right now, couldn't be established without shows like yours. And as a person that does this type of thing now, I want to ask, at what point does this crap get easy?
Well, it's like anything else. You know, first you have the Titanic, and then you have North Atlantic travel.
Yeah.
I kind of look at my show as like the Titanic experiment, you know?
the Titanic experiment.
Experiment. It's like the old joke, what happened when the Titanic hits the iceberg?
Mm-hmm.
And the response was, plenty of ice.
Yeah.
Let's have a drink. So I'm not really sure whether or not we've been successful or not, but I know that at some point in time there will be an expedition deep into the Atlantic Ocean, and they will find the Maui Breakfast Club and
all the other shows, you know.
all the way down there. I think when our show went off the air, it flew into the Indian Ocean. You know,
somewhere deep, like a Mariana Trench area.
Exactly,
Type.
it's down there. I've contacted the Malaysian government. They say they know nothing about the radio show.
But it was tracked 6 hours after it disappeared from the airwaves.
That's right. And I said, and before we went off the air, I said, "See you later, brother." And what? Where's that?
So it's like you got the curtain call, but never went out the curtain. You're just like, oh, here's the exit door. I'm gone, and everybody's waiting.
Yeah, so, you know, when you look at a show and you say, well, you know, you got these shows and you're going and you kind of set up a routine, that's true. But the exciting thing is it's always new every day.
Mm.
Every day it's new. Now, when you do a morning show, it's new real early in the morning.
So the rest of the day is a real nap.
Well, you know, if you're doing a show from like 7 to 8 or 7 to 9, when you get done, it's 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and you've done a half a day's at least work. You know? And then what do you do the rest of the day? You know?
You goof off. There's plenty of stuff on that internet to look at.
I have a stool at the Hang Loose Lounge, which is right next door.
Mm-hmm.
The drinking establishment next door. I don't know if we can mention alcohol and tobacco and caffeine on the radio.
On this show? Why not? Yeah.
On the radio.
Let me just pull up half the stuff I'm hiding beneath the counter.
So you have to kind of like look at it new every day. It's kind of fun. And it's fun to interview children. Interview children, interview rock bands, you know, young people starting out. I always look for on the radio for people who are just getting started. I look for garage bands. I look for local people, you know, what's going on. And we had, before Ikaika Blackburn was cool, and he's a distant cousin, before he was cool, was just a guy hanging out playing, we would have him on the radio show.
Oh.
Because we knew, I said, you know what, you can go big, man. You're going to go big. And oftentimes we would be the first radio interview that a group had been on, you know, Visibly Shaken, the young kids, that band.
God, yeah.
They were on, they came in, they played, they brought their parents as chaperones. Because they weren't sure if the radio show was safe or not.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, we might need some legal witness.
Is this where we want our children to be on this radio show?
No. And the funny thing is after they were on your show, they were on my show, and by that point, the parents had just quit showing up.
Oh yeah, they didn't need to worry. But you do that with people who are young, so they're fresh. They keep you fresh, you know. And I've always been surprised by people who say, "Oh, I'm so bored. There's nothing happening on mine. There's nothing going on. Yada yada yada." And I'm saying, what planet are you living on? There is so much stuff happening. I don't have time to do all the things I want to do. You know, there might be 3 or 4 things that are really cool happening on a Saturday, and you can't go to all of them because Maui's just packed with talent and creative people.
Yeah, all the time. And the thing is, though, is, you know, getting back to you, because I know you're very magnanimous. You like to spread the love and everything, but, you know, specifically when it comes to like radio, like you done it, and you being the generation that mine is copying at this moment, You know, God, I don't know how to say this. It's like, do you ever just look at it and go, God, if I could just do something different? Because I can't imagine, I mean, I've done this for 20 years now. I can't imagine not wanting to go back and correct every single mistake. But when you get the longer view on things and you get to get all these interesting stories and all these interesting people in through your studio, do you look back and go, nah, I wouldn't do it different? Or would you still?
Well, I started in this business, if you can call it a business. I started doing this with radio when I was in college. And I majored in radio and television production. I was really interested in film, but there was no film school, so I majored in radio and TV production. I graduated. I never used it. I went in and did a whole nother thing with publicity and PR, what have you. I used the skills, but I never did the radio thing. But in college, I had a radio show that was 5 nights a week. And then I would do radio in the student union during the day. And on Sundays, way back in the day, we had a show of Latino music, called Oye Como Va. All right, and we would do that on Saturdays for like 3 hours. There was no other radio station in Southern California playing Latino music like we did. We broke that. And if you know Southern California, you know the signals are really weird, and they got the mountains and the smog and what have you. And we were on a low-power FM station, but because of what they call the inversion layer, and for you kids who didn't do your science homework, you don't know the inversion layer is in the atmosphere and causes radio signals to bounce off and go into your very radio. That's what an inversion layer is. Okay, now, so we had this inversion layer.
Science and learning all in one show.
And so that meant we got almost the entire Southern California basin. And we had people in Pasadena, East LA, listening to this Latino music show that was nowhere else. And I produced it, and it was like Latinos who ran it, okay? That I was excited about, because I can tell you that was 1969, and we were breaking ground. Now it's everywhere. But then it was, and so that's the kind of the fun about working in a radio station like this one. You can experiment, you can do things, you can try new stuff out.
You screw up thousands of dollars of equipment.
No. Are you still trying to figure out where the plugs are on this thing? Do people know how new this studio is?
They have no idea, trust me. Every day we reassemble this thing.
And I think that's part of the fun of doing radio. Like I said, I started in college. And I didn't then pick it up again until I came here to Maui and began to do some TV and newscasting, and began to do some talk shows. And Don Couch, I worked with him and other people. And then radio, I helped on a radio show, and they wanted me to be the moderator. So I said, okay, I'll be the moderator. And then when that ended, quite frankly, I was where what you're saying. Well, I've done that. Geez, that's a lot of work. I don't want to do it again. It was like 1 day a week from 7 to 8 in the morning. And I thought, this is a lot of work, and I don't want to do this again. And then I got a call from another radio station. They said, we'd like you to do that show, but could you do it for 3 hours, 5 days a week?
I was like, sure, I'm not tortured enough at this point.
So I said, wait a minute.
I mean, you're going from burning the candle to breaking out the blowtorch.
So here's this thing. I majored in radio TV production. And eventually, after I left Long Beach State College, about 20 years later, I actually got a degree. But that's a whole other story. And so I came here, and one of the things I found was that there's a lot of opportunity to try new things. So I'd finished up Small Town Maui with Bill Frampton and Dave Ward, which is over on another station, KOI. Yeah. And I was just bored. And I turned to Joan, my partner in life, and I said, I wonder if I could do a radio show. I said, I went to college for this thing. I wonder if I can do a radio show. Yeah. So I started listening to the old radio shows, when radio was like really young, okay? And I found out something very interesting. And for those of you who are thinking of changing the station, don't do it, because I'm going to tell you something really good. I found out that it was illegal to have commercials on radio initially, and the longest show was 15 minutes.
Wow.
And it was felt that it was in bad taste, since the radio was in your living room, for people to try and sell you things on the radio. It was just really not cool.
Wow.
And it was regulated by the Commerce Department, not the Federal
Communications
Commission. These guys got together, some Sharpies in New York, real estate developers. And what they did is they created the first infomercial. They were trying to sell homes out in Long Island. So what they did is they created a radio show about this village in Long Island, and the characters would talk about how wonderful it was to live there and the new kitchens, and I got my carpet installed. And it was a 15-minute infomercial, and that began infomercials, and it began commercials on radio. I liked that format, so I made all of my sponsors characters in the show. All right, they didn't just get to pay for airtime; they had to come in and do some work.
Wow, I like you. You're like, not only are you going to pay me, you're going to work to pay me.
Yeah, exactly. So we created characters out of the various sponsors and people that we would have, and they became like regulars on the show. And I like doing that because then it was more of a family show. You weren't doing the 3-minute break. We'll be back and for a commercial message. We didn't have to do any of that stuff. We integrated it all into, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
And I'm just gonna kind of say, because after all of these years of being at, back in the 60s, 69, when you're doing new things that have never been attempted on airwaves before. Now, after all of this time, do you ever feel like a cowboy with no more frontier?
No, not actually, because I look at radio. Some people say it's a dying form. Some people say, we passed it. Well, tell that to the people who are making hundreds of millions of dollars by running radio stations in the commercial era. Radio has never been more popular. It's never been financially more secure. It's just like they used to say when TV came in, there go the movies.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. So we have an insatiable appetite for media. And one of the best forms is radio because it's so intimate. Okay, you can be on radio and someone can be listening to you and you can say, put down that cell phone right now. You know who you are, and you're texting, and you're driving up the hill on your way home, and you're asking your wife, should you stop at the store and get anything? Don't do it. It's against the law.
Yeah, right there you've called 6 or 7 people.
That's right. What's the number to call in here?
877-6363.
877-6363.
If I have not broken the system, 877-6363.
The reason I mention that is because if someone's on the phone anyway and they know their wife is listening to our show, which I'm sure she does every day, just call in here and say, honey, do you want me to stop at the store? She can call in and say yes and tell you what to buy.
We can make this the shopping network.
It's kind of like a delivery service.
Yeah, but for messages.
But for messages, so you can call in and say, this call's for Bruce, and Bruce, your wife wants you to stop and pick up a quart of milk, some oranges, and to stop smoking. And we'll do that for you.
Yeah, we'll just toss in the messages that you never want. Please pick up some milk, some ham, and for God's sakes, don't leave your streak mark underwear on the hamper anymore.
Yeah. Now, I had an interview one time with a guy who really went off on me. I can't remember his name, but for those of you who are listening and you're concerned about the issue I'm going to mention, call 899-2222. Okay? That's 899-2222 if you disagree with what I'm about to say. He had the thing about the clouds and about the vapors in the environment. Are you familiar with that? That there's a group of people who believe that the government is seeding the clouds in order to create rain, to do a global warming, and it's having all kind of implications. And chemtrailers. Well, I was ignorant on this issue, and sometimes what an interview can do is it can educate you. All right. Mm-hmm. So I told the guy, hey, I don't know anything about the issue. I haven't seen any videos or nothing, so I'm going to ask you questions like someone who doesn't know, so you can let people know your issue. Every time I asked him a question, he got mad at me because he thought I was trying to trip him up or I was part of the opposition. He began to say things, I know who you are. I know why you're doing this. I know what you're saying. I know what the message is. So, it got heated and what have you. And we had to, when we took a break, we had to calm things down because this guy was really pissed off at me and thought that I was setting him up.
Oh, my God.
And all I'm telling him is, listen, buddy, I don't know anything about your issue. I'm asking you the questions people who are listening would like to ask. You got to tell us the information.
Exactly.
You can't hit me.
No. All right, well, I got to stop you right there. And by the way, if any government agency, secret society whatsoever would like to bribe me into sharing your propaganda, Shaggy at akaku.org, and I do take cash. Okay.
Good for you.
Yes. Coming back in just a sec, we'll talk more with Tom Blackburn Rodriguez, and we will reminisce more. Oh, such great reminiscing. Right in just a second. If you'd like to join the show, 877-6363, you're listening to 88.5 FM and Channel 55 Akaku Television. We'll be right back. It's a couple seconds.
Bring food.
Bring food. Please bring food.
Want to get your message out there, but don't know how? Akaku can help. We have several services that are easily accessible. A hot set, or open mic, is the easiest and least expensive way to get your message out there. Anyone can do it. Just call us at 871-5554, set up an appointment, and then show up at the designated time. It's that simple. After completing our intro classes, you can become certified to utilize our Michael Clark studio for any kind of show you want to make. And once you finish the class or field camera certification, you'll be able to borrow our nifty cameras and audio equipment and go shoot projects outside of our studio. We can shoot in high definition, which ensures that your masterpiece will look great once it's edited. Akaku regularly records and cablecasts select meetings of the Maui County Council on Channel 53. Give us a call at 871-5554 or visit us at 333 Dairy Road in Kahului.
You're not sitting here.
Yes, I am.
Move! Give it to him hard!
No.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Why you stab me with it? No.
They want to help,
Ow.
but don't know how.
Oh, you got...
Teach your kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
Studio live. Joining me, my guest is Tom Blackburn Rodriguez. You're listening to 88.5 FM and Akaku Channel 55.
Very good.
Yes. I kind of wanted to bring this up because you were talking about the chemtrails right before the break. Okay, like, honestly, when it comes to, let's just say, the fringe conspiracy types, how do you deal with those in an interview? Because me, I'm Mr. Science. If you cannot prove it by the scientific method, it does not exist. And, well, you know.
Well, it depends on what kind of interview you want to do. Sometimes you're doing a debunking interview where you want to you have someone in the studio that has a very firm position. They're not really interested in explaining as they are in telling you about it. So the difficulty in an interview like that is to respect their passion, but then to ask questions. And a lot of times people with strongly held views long ago left the idea of answering questions.
Why
behind
is that?
I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know. But, it works. There are a lot of conspiracy theories out there. Radio that people love to come on them. There is a rumor that Rush Limbaugh is actually a blow-up doll. Could be true. Could be true. But I don't know that. Although I did have in the car one day in Washington D.C. and we were able to go in the HOV lane, but
it works.
But there are a lot of conspiracies out there, and people want to be on the air and they want to talk, and they want to tell people their vision. So I always wanted to have an open door policy so I could run out. Well, and that seemed to work. But I think probably those kind of interviews are the most difficult. The ones that are fun are for the people who don't take themselves that seriously. We've done a lot of interviews with politicians, and when they're running for office, we come in and interview them, and man, getting them to stop talking.
Oh God, I know, right?
They just keep going and going and going and going until they run out of steam, and then they collapse in little pools of water or something, and You got to call 911. It's terrible. You know?
No, I have seen politicians literally hyperventilate between breaks on a show just because they're trying to talk so much, you know?
Right, yeah. What's really hard, too, is when people come in with talking points, and then they give you their talking points, and they say, here are the questions I want you to ask me. I said, oh, those are really great. I really appreciate those.
Yeah, just trash.
But all of those things are fun. They're interesting. You know, Maui's such an amazing community, and it's got the fringe, it's got the center, it's got the right, it's got the left, it's got the, well, it doesn't have the middle.
Yeah.
It's got the fringe, it's got the right, it's got the left.
It's got crazy and other.
And other. But, you know, hey, look, people are passionate. People come here with a passion, okay? And no matter what you do, no matter how much weed you give them, they won't get rid of that passion. So if you can't make them unconscious, you're going to have to listen to them.
Exactly. What was the weirdest one that you ever had to come in where, like, halfway through the interview, you're going, how in the hell did I get myself into this?
Okay. It wasn't the nose flute interview.
It was a nose flute interview.
We had a gentleman who since unfortunately passed away to do nose flute, brought in and played nose flutes and told us about them and everything. That was fun, okay? But there was one interview with some musicians, and there was a guy who was a guitar player, and you would talk to him about their music and what have you, and you'd say something like, so you got some really good riffs there. Do you have anybody that you kind of like really like? You kind of like modeled yourself after?
Holy cow.
I like, well, when I was a kid, I liked, what's his name? I'm sitting there going, I don't know his name.
Why are you asking me? I'm the one asking the question.
Who booked this guy?
Like Heisenberg at this point, you know. So, I'm the one that knocks.
So you have to be careful because some people are not, you know, that way. They don't talk a lot. They're musicians or they're painters, okay? So you interview a painter and he says, well, you know, I really like the brush stroke and you can see the detail here. And, of course, I'm looking for that underwater. And I'm going, no one can see you.
But truth be told, every good radio person talks with their hands.
Yeah, well, that's and if you've ever traveled in Europe, you know, and I have, but I was able to come back to the country. That was all a big mistake. I would travel in Europe, and I noticed that when I was in Italy, I went on a train one time. I went from France. I was going over to Italy into Florence. I was going to Florence, and I took the train. Okay, the TGV. You know, like if you want to take a train, like Europeans have trains that go 120 miles an hour, our trains go an average of 25 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So
all through bad neighborhoods.
All through bad neighborhoods, of course, and where all the stops are. But no, it's too good a neighborhood. Let's move the stop down here. So we went. You go in Paris, and we say, "What's the train to go to Florence?" And they look at you, like, "You don't know? You are here in our country, but you do not know how to take the train. You insult us. You insult."
Well, excuse me, Mr. Mass Transit France.
So in France, you got to find the train yourself. Then you go into Italy. No, you go to Switzerland. You go to Switzerland, and you get off the train from France, and the train from Switzerland pulls up. It doesn't just pull up. Your car pulls up.
Whoa.
In the train. You get in the train, there's food, there's everything, wine is great, okay? And then you get to Italy, okay? And Italy, everyone's talking with their hands, the security guards, everybody, the signs are all changing, no one tells you anything, and it's like, what train? Where? To where? Train. Who cares? Train. Hey, have some wine, you know?
Yeah, you know, get drunk, who cares?
Exactly. So when you're traveling through these countries, you see how the different people approach the same subjects. It's the same thing here. We've got so many people from so many places living on Maui, okay, that you may think that you're having a conversation with someone. They may not even understand what you're saying. That they do that.
Oh, God, yes. You know how many times I've got death threats on my show because people don't understand what I'm saying?
Oh, I used to do death threats all the time on your show. I called in on a regular basis.
You were Bomb Threat Bob. All right.
Bomb Threat Bob. I just want to say something for people who don't understand how difficult it is to put a station on the air. I want to thank you for this really uncomfortable stool that I'm sitting on.
You have no idea. It's all posture in here.
But I'm thinking to myself, this stool, some really famous people have sat on this stool. And now I'm on this stool, okay? And somebody's going to sit here after me and go, ew, it was all famous people until Tom sat down. Now I want another stool.
Oh, God. It's not like that.
You know, there's some prima donnas here. You know that.
Oh, God, yes, yes, especially in our industry, and that's really sad.
You know, there are people who just have to be a certain way. You know? For example, this water you gave me is really warm, but I don't care. My people will take care of it.
My people will take care of it. Well, your people better take care of it because my people are too busy fixing this crap every day.
Well, you know, when you do interviews, when you talk to people, you really never know where it's going to go. And that's the best part of it. The best part of it is to let the conversation go where it goes, okay? And people always have something to tell. One of the stories is always great, and I'm going to ask you this story.
Okay.
This is a great story that a friend of mine taught me, okay? Here it is. How did you and your wife meet?
Oh, God. Okay.
I'll be back in 10 minutes.
It does work like that, doesn't it?
How did you and your wife meet?
Okay, this is real funny. I picked my wife up off the side of the road in the middle of the night because she had to walk home to babysit another drunk.
What?
I picked her up at 3 o'clock in the morning because she was walking with another person that had a disagreement with another person because they were drinking.
Now, I think I dated her before you.
Oh, God.
You met her. This was at the right side or the left side of the road?
According to her, it was the wrong side of the road, you know?
Well, I'll tell you how I met my wife, or the woman I'm going to marry shortly.
Wherever she is.
Wherever she may be, God bless her. I went in to open a checking account. I was working in San Francisco with the Democratic National Committee. I was doing the Democratic Convention. By the way, if you're checking this out, that was Walter Mondale, and he lost 49 states. I was on the Mondale team.
Oh, wow.
So at any rate, I'm in San Francisco, and I have to open a checking account because I've got to send money to bills and stuff. So I was walking down, and there were two banks we could go to, Bank of America or Wells Fargo. Okay, Wells Fargo was on the shady side of the street. So I'm walking down the street, and I say, well, only mad dogs and Englishmen go out in the noonday sun.
Yeah.
I'm not a mad dog. I'm not English. So I'm going to go to Wells Fargo. It's on the shady side of the street. I walk in, and there is the person that I'm going to fall in love with for the rest of my life, and she opens my checking account.
Oh, wow.
Now, how did I know that this was the right girl for me?
She had all your money already?
Well, that was one thing, and she still does, except for $42. I have myself. I say, so $42.50. I hope she's not listening. So at any rate, she opened the account, and she gave me a checkbook, one of those crappy little ratty vinyl things, you know.
Yeah, the bad ones.
That smell like vinyl, you know, and like they have notes from people in Shanghai saying, help me, I'm being held prisoner.
In this vinyl factory.
Get me now before I have to go make iPhones, you know. So the kind that, you know, notes like that kind of make you worry, you know. So I said to her, I said, well, geez, I said, do you have any books that are a little bit nicer, checkbooks a little bit nicer than this? She made the mistake of her life. She said, well, we have these leather ones, but they're for special customers.
Oh, special.
Special. I felt special. I was special. And I said, well, aren't I special? And so she did it, but then she had to get permission from her supervisor because it's leather. Well, here's the thing. It's a beautiful checkbook cover. Very nice. Wells Fargo Bank. You all know it. They're the ones with the
Pony Express.
The Stagecoach, Pony Express. They've never gone into automobiles, never gone into horses' carriages. Okay, they still do all their work with quill pens, but they're a really great service organization. I have to tell you, I still have that checkbook cover.
Wow.
And I still have the person who opened my checking account.
Yes, double bonus.
Double bonus. Because I was someone special.
Oh.
And so that's the way it is. I've always been a very big fan of the American banking system, and I like free gifts.
Hey, me too, buddy. You know, and this is funny because one of my friends told this story, and I know I shouldn't be telling stories on my own show, but this one's a really good one. Okay, so my friend...
Go ahead.
Okay. My friend, his name is, we'll call him Coyote, because that was his name on his old show. It was in Shreveport, Louisiana. He told a story.
I'm doing sound effects for you.
Remember in the old style of radio, they would actually have a Foley guy during the show with the little whistles and everything.
I love Foley. I don't even want to go into it. I love Foley. When I see movies, I always look for the Foley artists, the Foley assistants, and they're the people who, when the horses run, they go like this.
Yeah, the coconut shells.
Yeah, I can do this. And then there's, you're riding the horse, right?
Yeah.
And you're going through the African jungle. Let's get out of here right away. We can't get out of here, you idiot. These are just my hands on the ground. So, so I love sound effects in movies. So do your story on Coyote.
Okay. So he told the story about how when he was a kid, him and his grandmother got in a disagreement, and she had beat him with a yardstick. And the funny thing is about the yardstick is there's this bank, Branch Banking and Trust, BB&T.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they used to put out these all of them used to put out yardsticks.
Yeah, the yardsticks, and they had the embossed letters. You remember the embossed letters?
Right.
Yeah, and he said the only reason I knew where she had her money in the bank was because it was branded on my ass after she hit it with the yardstick.
Did it have the account number? Because that's what really matters.
No, but here's the funny part. You know how you never expect how an interview goes?
Right.
Okay, he had a co-host in the show. The co-host, without thinking, says, "Better be glad your grandma didn't go to a place that gave out toasters."
Why?
Because then you got your ass kicked with a toaster, too.
Oh, I didn't know that. I wish I'd heard the show. My mother used to go out, there was back in the day, and people may remember this, some of the women will remember this, which the washing machines, they used to have, you needed a stick to move it through so that the laundry wouldn't bulk up, okay? And it had to be a strong stick, okay? And a long stick. It was
Hey.
and it was just long enough to reach me and my sister. And my mother would say, "Go get the stick." No, not the stick. Mother, we love you. How can you hit us with a stick, Mom? Go get the stick.
It's kind of like Shane, you know?
The stick was about yay long, about like a yardstick. It was round, about an inch round. It was painted gray, except the parts that she held with her hand.
Oh, God. That was blood.
I remember that stick. And so, God bless her, my mother's has now passed, but I want to say this. She could have pitched for the New York Yankees. She had a strong right arm that was 95 miles an hour for a half an hour. Okay.
That was my mom's mouth. My mom didn't so much as punish us kids by beating us as by talking us out of wanting to live anymore.
How long from the time you met your wife to the time you got married?
Too long in her opinion.
Okay.
Okay. You know.
Was it a long engagement?
No, well, it was a year engagement.
Oh, that's nothing. I believe in long engagements. So my initial reaction was I was not going to marry again until the Dalai Lama could march into Lhasa with his head held up into a free Tibet.
Ooh.
Okay. Well, as you know, it hasn't happened. Okay?
Yeah.
And the Dalai Lama is now not talking about a free Tibet. He's talking about an autonomous region within the People's Republic of China. When I heard that he was going for an autonomous region, I said, forget about it. I'm going to get married now.
You might as well.
I'm not waiting. Okay, I know you're Buddhist. I know there's the Eightfold Path. I know all this stuff, okay? But there's nothing in there about being an autonomous region.
No.
You're supposed to be a free Tibet.
Yeah, it kind of crosses a line at that point.
Some people think that's a little ridiculous to put up an example like that and say, I won't get married until something like that happens, okay? I felt it was a statement of conscience, like my conscience statement, my political beliefs. Joan still thinks it's bull.
It's like, no.
But it's like Harry Truman once said, and the kids, if you're listening, Harry Truman was once president of the United States. So Harry Truman once said, any good story is worth embellishing. So you always start with a good story, and then you embellish it. Okay.
And that's just one of the things, because we've been talking about your history of being an interviewer or being on the radio and stuff, and embellishing stories and making people a part of your show, no matter how significant or insignificant in the community they were. I miss that type of radio. Do you ever find yourself with all the ways that we have of entertaining ourselves these days, really just missing this kind of communication?
I do, and it's close to me. I really enjoy it. I have a good time with it. When I start feeling like that, I watch TV. I watch Japanese shows in Japanese, and then try and figure out what the action is.
I do my own dubbing.
When that gets kind of like hard, I go to the Korean shows. Nothing like Korean TV, Saturday morning Korean TV, where they have all the little girls. I'm going, this is really great TV. How do we get these people on the radio? I could interview one of these Korean girls. What's it like being a dancer? Well, maybe that won't work,
It would work. It would work, damn it. You would make it work.
One time, I'm going to tell a quick story. I'll see if I can do this right. I got cable TV now, so I can get Akaku. I got cable TV. Okay, well, what I found out is they have all these adult channels.
Oh, yeah.
And, well, you have to be an adult to get them, okay? Or think like
No,
an
you
adult.
don't.
Or wish you were an adult. Or lie that you're an adult. Okay?
Or find an adult's credit card.
So I said, well, I'm going to subscribe to one of these things. I want to. What's this like? I'm going to check it out, right? I'm curious. It's the same damn thing it always was. It's no different. They do the same thing I do. Okay?
Yeah, there's been no innovations in the porn industry.
Absolutely no innovations whatsoever.
There's not like new science sex.
So I'm thinking, well, what's the point? I'm going to cancel this channel. And then Putin invades Crimea. And I'm trying to make sense out of what's going on with this biggest land invasion since World War II in Europe.
Yeah.
And I'm watching CNN, and CNN goes on commercial, and I switch back to the Hustler channel. I watch Hustler for about 6 minutes, and I go back to CNN, and I'm getting confused. I said, well, which one is Putin? I said, no, that's the Hustler channel. Go back to CNN, okay? And I'm thinking about it. I said, well, you know what? It appears to me that when it comes to the Crimea and Putin, we are getting, well. And I said,
he's putting it somewhere.
I said, I understand now what's going on. He's putting it in.
Hey, what's Vladimir Putin's favorite song?
What?
Crimea River.
That's disgusting.
Hey, come on.
That is terrible. Did you pay for that joke?
No, I bought it off the street. It's right here in front of the station.
Yeah, if you want to get great jokes, go to Minute Stop. They sell them $1 a piece.
Yeah, sometimes with spam.
They're called fried chicken.
Oh, God. No, it's hard, and people don't understand this, and this is like one of the reasons that I used to listen to your show. Oh, God. Yes, I said it. I listened to your show. But when I used to listen to your show, I got this sense of being there in the studio with you. I felt like I was a part of the conversation. I was the silent part of the conversation. You know how you always have those groups. Somebody's doing the talking. One of them's the pretty one, usually me. Mm-hmm. But
what size bra do you wear? I'm just asking.
Okay. Thanks. But
because you are really pretty.
Yes.
But I want to tell you, for those of you who can't see him on TV, he really needs to shave a little closer.
Yeah. Like
you're getting rough, boy. Rough boy. Get out, rough boy.
Oh, God. But I always wonder. It's like, are we ever going to see a time and day with all of this newfangled entertainment and switching between Hustler and CNN? Are we ever going to get to this point that as a society we come back and go back to the simple and fun and great direct type of entertainment?
You mean the back of the day when we used to drink orange juice in 6-ounce glasses?
Well, yeah, but 3 ounces of it was vodka, you know?
That's right. I don't know. You know, there's a retro kind of thing. People kind of like something that's a little bit simpler, a little bit easier. One of the things that drives me nuts is when I go to a store and they say, "Oh, do you have a XYZ discount card?" I said, "No." "Well, then it's $2 more for you." And I'm thinking to myself, I'm a customer.
I know.
Why do I have to get a card so you won't charge me as much? It's like going into like a Well, like a bank.
It is. And the bank does that now. Every little thing they can charge you for.
Oh, come on. Don't be anti-banker. They only made $6 billion last year in fees. Give me a break.
Jesus, you know.
All right, come on. You know?
I'll just
You need a cashier's check, $25 minimum. We got people in the back working here, okay?
Yeah.
We're going to have to do minimum wage in 3 years.
And that's the thing, you know. There is that big divide that we didn't have 20 years ago. And now in the media, we have this divide so much that, you know, and thank God they're not watching this show. We have management that never pays attention to the content that we're putting on the air.
Thank God.
And, well, in some cases, but in most cases, it seems that as far as a standard, would you say in all the years that you've been in radio and television and PR, that the standard, the bar, has been lowered to a new low over these last, 20 years?
I don't know if that's true or not because I came of age in the 60s, so there's about 20 years I'm not really sure of. I'm going to watch the CNN special on the 60s to see if there's anything I need to know.
Yeah, it's like, which year was this? Was I there?
You know, but when they have Sally Fields up there as a spokesperson for the 60s generation, give me a break. I didn't go around wearing funny clothes and flying in the air. I mean, I knew that I couldn't fly. I didn't go that far.
Yeah.
But I would say that I don't know if it's a lower bar, but when I look at people who I admire, like a Jack Benny.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like a Steve Allen.
Red Skelton.
Red Skelton. Okay, I mean, these are giants in comedy and radio and TV and what have you. And I look at how talented they were and their sense of timing, and they could sing and dance and act and whatever. And then I look at what comes up now. Justin Bieber.
Oh, God.
Give me a break. This guy can't even keep his green card in his wallet, let alone his pants zipped up.
You know?
It's just ridiculous.
And then maybe it's just me getting old, and you can tell me, have I crossed that threshold? Because now I'm looking at people like that just going, pull your pants up and sing on key.
But or at least lip sync correctly.
Yeah, you know?
We can't ask, you know.
If I want to see this, I'm watching Kung Fu Theater.
Yeah, oh yeah. You mentioned something, though. We did try and create, and I like to have a world in the studio, okay? That we are, in fact, not out there. We're in here. It's a village. I try and create like a town, and interviews like a town square. Like you run to somebody at the store and you just stand, you talk to them for 5 minutes. How you doing? How's the kids? Oh, hey, ooh, wow, it looks like you got an arm cast or whatever. You just talk to people, you know. And it's the same way. So you create a sense of a village.
Well, and you know, they say with all the new technology, with the cell phones and stuff, and everybody walking around like this, that we have actually lost the ability to communicate verbally.
Just a second, my phone just rang.
Yeah, but you would actually answer the phone. It's me. If my phone rings, I'm going, who is stupid enough to call me knowing that I text?
Oh, what I like to do is in a restaurant, my phone goes off, and I look up and go, would someone please turn off their phone? Because then everyone goes like this, they all reach for it. But that's just being goofy. But if you can create a friendly environment where people can stop and visit for a while, maybe drop in and have a beer or whatever, then what you've done is you've created what people need, which is a sense of place. We need a sense of place.
Well, and it does seem like not a lot of people are out there in any sort of world trying to create some sort of sense of place. They're always trying to create a sense of importance first.
Well, that's Putin. And I understand you're going to interview him on your show next week.
No.
You ever notice when he played hockey the other? I don't want to stay on Putin, but he did an exhibition game on hockey and scored 17, 20 points. And you'd watch the poor goalie when Putin came up, and the goalie would fall down.
Yeah, you know.
But Putin would be halfway down the ice, and the goalie would clap. Oh well,
yeah. You notice the defense players all for that other team that Putin wasn't on, smoking cigarettes by the rail.
I know it. It's just trashiness. But he couldn't do radio like you can. Really? You are really good with radio. You are excellent with radio.
Well, I was just about to wrap up the show by saying, dear God, I hope that for all of these years that I've heard you on the air and stuff, I hope that people, when they think back to the Breakfast Club and when they think back to your shows, that they remember that these are the type of shows that we need more of back
Small
on Maui.
Town Maui. Maui Breakfast Club. I agree with you. You know what? And only because I need more food.
You know. Okay, so real quick, any parting words of advice from me, a show host, a young whippersnapper?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
When you're out at night, wear white.
You can. Have you seen my skin tone?
That was it.
Really? When you're out at night, wear white.
Wear white.
Okay. So you know about the scooter.
That's right.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining me on the
My
show.
pleasure.
Oh, God.
My pleasure. My
All right.
pleasure.
For everybody else, thanks for joining along in the fun and festivities here on 88.5 FM and Channel 55. Did you hear that? I just bit the microphone.
That's no, let's just say it bit you.
Yeah. Ow. Okay.
It's not your fault.
Yeah. I hope we have OSHA coverage on this show. But I'd like to thank my guest, Tom Blackburn Rodriguez. And if people want to get in touch with you, find a email,
Not a problem. Just go down to Kihei Police Station, Maui Police Department, say you're looking for Tom Blackburn Rodriguez. They'll take you in the squad car. I would suggest you not sit in the back seat.
Definitely. For everybody else here at Akaku, join us again tomorrow at 5 o'clock. More technical difficulties and more live show. Yay! See you.